Historic turning point. New tonight on Our News, an up-close look at the Progressive Liberal Party's 1967 election victory, how it ushered in what we now know as majority rule. And a spotlight on the enduring legacy of Sir Lyndon Pindling as we follow the decades-long tradition of his widow as the PLP says the fight for dignity, security, and justice continues. Plus, attempts to save jobs. Pharmachem's imminent closure back in the news tonight as the Prime Minister says his administration tried to intervene. And later, the remarkable journey to becoming CEO. How work that started in her teens landed her the top job at Western Air. It's Majority Rule Day, and Our News starts right now. Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us on this 57th commemoration of Majority Rule. I'm Marlena Leonard. Tonight, we journey back to 1967 when the Progressive Liberal Party overcame a decade of struggle. From humble beginnings, the PLP forged a path to victory, securing a historic tie with the UBP. Tonight, Jerome Sawyer explores the pivotal moments leading to this turning point, from the formation of the PLP in 1953 to the crucial 1964 talks and the dramatic decisions that unfolded on January 10th that reshaped Bahamian history.
The formation of the Progressive Liberal Party in 1953 by three men who were near white or mulatto didn't give the early PLP much traction with the majority black population. In 1955, a caucus of black members produced a leader in a young Lyndon Pindling. By 1956, the mostly white United Bahamian Party was formed, establishing the two-party system. That year, 6 PLP members were elected to Parliament.
Mr. Pindling, how much freedom do the coloured people have in the Bahamas?
It's limited, I should say. Limited in education, limited in finance and commerce, an opportunity to reach to the higher spots in certain jobs. So I should say, in general, not as much as we should have.
Over the next 6 years, the PLP gained popular support with major legislative victories like universal suffrage, giving every Bahamian over 18 the right to vote. Despite women going to the polls for the first time, the PLP was only able to get 8 seats in Parliament in the 1962 election. The next 5 years were crucial. 1964 ushered in self-governance. The colony of the Bahamas got its first cabinet and premier in Roland Simonet. The stage was now set for majority rule. As the 1967 general elections drew near, the UBP's grip on power slackened. A rash of bad publicity over a Freeport gambling license and growing discontent with the mercantile elite who ran the country made the party's downfall almost imminent. The 1964 constitutional talks gave New Providence 5 additional seats. Universal adult suffrage of the one vote, one person and the abolition of the company vote had leveled the playing field. At the close of the polls on January 10, 1967, the PLP and the UBP were tied with 18 seats. Randall Fox of the Labour Movement and Alvin Brennan, an independent candidate, were the deciding seats. Pindling flew from Andros to Nassau and convinced folks to join forces with the PLP in return for a cabinet seat as Labour minister. He would offer Brennan Speaker of the House. After a decade of struggle, on January 10, 1967, the Progressive Liberal Party would run one of the closest elections in history and emerge victorious. For the first time, black Bahamians would run their own affairs.
The area in which we seek to expand most quickly and most effectively would be in the education, health and welfare areas. As you know, our big gripe has always been that not enough of the country's income has been able to filter down to the bottom.
Although this wasn't run particularly on racial issues, do you think there now will be a feeling of revenge among the radicals in Mr. Pindling's party?
I wouldn't think so at all. Of course, you always have people inexperienced and who do foolish things, but I don't think, I can't visualize there being any thought of organized retaliation or revenge. because any of those things would tend to destroy the good feeling now existing in the country and would be against good common judgment and would cause the masses of the people to be unhappy.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jerome Sawyer.
What a recap. Thanks for that, Jerome. Along for the journey with the late Sir Lyndon, his wife, Dame Marguerite Pendling, was there every step of the way. Since his passing in 2000, she's continued her decades-long tradition of laying a wreath at the grave of her late husband on the anniversary of majority rule. Following the annual church service, we spoke to Dame Marguerite at the cemetery today, where she reminisced on the day that made history and the miracle, she says, was the peaceful transition of power.
When I heard that song, Walk together, children, don't you? I became very emotional. I think I did some things that I don't normally do, stand up in church and wave my hand. But I became very emotional to see how far we have come. The journey has not been easy. I said if it was any other part of the world, it would have been a slaughter that evening. There was bloodshed all over the place. But God has been in control of this organization from day one.
And we'll have more from today's church service in just a bit. But first, the PLP also holding its own wreath-laying ceremony at Gambier House today. Prime Minister Philip Davis celebrating the visionary architects of our nation and those who stood shoulder to shoulder with them in the fight for freedom. And while he reflected on the era preceding and post-majority rule, Davis saying our work is far from over as the country stands at the threshold of crucial challenges that demand our attention and dedication. This as PLP MP Pia Glover-Roll reflected on the role of women.
We come from people who had to fight for every inch of progress. And we commemorate Majority Rule Day as a call to action because now it's our turn to fight.
The men were advised by the lone female voice, Miss Effie Walks, that this was time for radical action. And you know, it always takes our voice right there in the background, advocating and pushing. But today, because of this moment, we are here at the front.
Recalibrate, educate, and participate were the calls to action from Reverend T.G. Morrison, who held no punches at the Majority Rule Ecumenical Service at Zion Baptist Church today. While addressing the work still to be done in the Bahamas almost 60 years after Majority Rule, Morrison highlighting issues such as education and immigration, even going as far as to question how far we've truly come in social reform.
Have we simply modeled the business and the economic tactics of the white oligarchy, creating a parallel black oligarchy where wealth and resources flow only in a particular circle to those who are the chosen among themselves?
The Zion Baptist Church pastor says the country is in desperate need of recalibration and improved education.
That if at all we're going to move from where we are right now, there is a call for us to recalibrate. Somebody say recalibrate. You got to educate. We have too many dumb people in our country trying to do smart things, and nothing will mess up a country like when stupid people are given positions of authority.
An overarching theme of Morrison's words today centering on the importance of looking beyond party lines and focusing on coming together as a country.
Our country has yet to develop a national plan that defies partisan political ideologies, that inspire the spirit of patriotism, and that puts a muzzle on political hacks and those who are simply there as political loyalists looking to be doled out because they have remained committed to the party's cause. There is a nation that we have to build, and that nation transcends the political colors and the political ideologies, because when the dust is settled, we are all Bahamian.
We've got much more to get to on this Majority Rule Day, but for now, quiet conditions across the islands tonight. Meteorologist Greg Thompson joins us now from the Weather Center. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Marlena, and happy Wednesday evening, everybody. Of what this is, Majority Rule Day. It's a nice day outside. Partly cloudy skies outside the studios right now, though. Temperatures in the low 70s, 73 degrees. Winds out of the north at 7 miles per hour, and your feels like temperature is a comfortable 72 degrees. Right now, it is 68 in Freeport, 72 in Marsh Harbor, Abaco, 69 in Allenstown, Bimini, over in Great Harbor Key and Nicholstown, 71, 75 Governor's Harbor, Central Bahamas, 77s in Kemps Bay, Arthurstown, Cat Island, Coburn Town, San Salvador, Georgetown, you guys are 78, Deadman's Key, 79, and into the Southeast Bahamas, 78 Duncantown, Ragged Island, Colonel Hill, Cricket Island, Abrahams Bay, Delectable Bay, 79s, Providenciales, 79, Deep South, Matthewtown, Inagua, you guys are 79 at this hour. Satellite and radar composite showing a lot of clouds associated with a frontal boundary that moved through the capital earlier today. That front is just to the south of the capital into the central Bahamas. It's expected to stall down there, but a lot of clouds will remain behind that. We still have a couple of isolated showers. Most of that is west of the islands into the Florida Straits, but we will see some more clouds tomorrow as well as the chances for some showers. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on Our News, the Prime Minister details the effort to save jobs at Pharmachem. Plus, the nation's leader answers questions about a return to masks amid a COVID-19 uptick. And members of the legal fraternity prepare for the opening of the new legal year. We'll tell you the road closures expected in downtown Nassau when Our News returns.
Doctors Hospital is reimagined primary care. We have invested to improve our health system, ensuring that accessible, affordable, world-class clinical care is closer to you. Your relationship with a primary care provider shapes the foundation of your overall health. Our new, modern primary care facilities are where critical diagnosis and true personalized treatment begin. With locations across New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Exuma, we invite you to experience the Doctors Hospital difference. Book your next appointment at clinics.doctorshos.com.
Now to a story we've been following out of Grand Bahama. We are now learning government tried to save the jobs of over 100 employees at Pharmachem Technologies. The company announcing its imminent closure earlier this week, citing unprecedented challenges. Asked about it today, Prime Minister Philip Davis said,
That is a blow to the Grand Bahama economy, and sadly we tried to intervene, but unfortunately the issue that involves that high-tech company is such that we are unable to bring any resolution to that challenge. We're hopeful that the employees that are being impacted by it, they'll be sorted out according to our laws. My conversation with the hierarchy of Gilead, which is the key figure in all of this, is to see whether they could be redeployed elsewhere until there's a solution for the plant.
And as health officials reported this week a significant uptick in COVID-19 cases, some residents have returned to the practice of wearing masks. Speculation has since surfaced about the need for return to a mask mandate. But Prime Minister Davis says any decision will be based on science.
There's no need at this time, according to all the science, to implement any new measures. Don't recalling now, measures are still in place. Like for example, in certain, we have invited Bahamians to police themselves. That is the primary initiative we've taken. You police yourself. Keep yourself safe and keep your neighbors safe. That's the implementation. And so we recommend wearing masks, but it's not mandatory.
When Our News comes back from the break, the Supreme Court Registrar gives us a sneak peek into the opening of the new legal year, now hours away. Plus, the years-long journey to becoming CEO. How Western Air's Rexy Roll claimed a top spot in the local aviation industry. Her remarkable story when Our News returns.
I'm Michaela Kerr. I'm an 18-year-old freshman at the University of the Bahamas, and I'm a computer science major. I'm also the NT Corporation's Youth Ambassador for the Environment, and I'm an environmentalist. My journey as the environmental advocate began with a simple yet profound realization that our environment is degrading right in front of my eyes. And being NT's Youth Ambassador for the Environment means that my words and my actions hold the power to help change the environment and the world around me. I find it exciting that I can be a student, live my life, and use my words and my voice to change the environment and world around me. Most times I think it's a privilege. It's our environment and it's our generation to own. I don't think as a young person that there's anything more rewarding than being a part of bringing awareness. I'm Michaela Kerr, and I'm making a difference in my own words.
You're watching Our News on this 57th anniversary of Majority Rule Day. Thanks so much for spending your evening with us. We are less than 24 hours away from the opening of the legal year, with final preparations now underway. Berthany McDermott spoke with the Registrar of the Supreme Court ahead of the big day.
Departing from the usual setting at the Supreme Court building in Bank Lane, this year's inauguration of the legal year will unfold in a new location, the ballroom at Margaritaville. Members of the legal fraternity now getting ready.
Traditionally, it would be held in the open courtroom on the ground floor of the main Supreme Court building. We have 20 judges, including the CJ right now. Add to that the Provost Marshal, who is the Commissioner of Police. They can't possibly fit on the bench anymore. That could only hold a maximum of 12 persons on the bench at any time. So we've outgrown the space, as beautiful as the space is. And so we had to find a location that was near the cathedral, within walking distance. And so we chose Margaritaville.
Supreme Court Registrar Constance Delancey previewing tomorrow's lineup, with members of the legal fraternity expected to assemble in Bank Lane before a procession north on Bay Street. That procession ending at Christ Church Cathedral on George Street, leading to road closures.
Normally around 7 a.m. is when they start closing off the road. So we avoid persons parking where they ought not to park. But there will be no parking in Bank Lane, obviously. Because we will need to have Bank Lane for the assembly of the judges and the various bar members.
Chief Justice Sir Ian Winder expected to chart the way forward for the judiciary in this annual address, Delancey foreshadowing what may be on his agenda.
The judiciary, like every other entity, is evolving. And we are now moving on towards our integrated case management system, whereby persons would be able to file online, and we would move towards a digital footprint as opposed to traditional paper and pen. So that's very high on the Chief Justice's agenda. Of course, ongoing training for staff and for judicial officers is always high on his agenda as well.
And just what impact might this have on the work of the judiciary?
We're looking at making sure that our services are accessible to people, no matter where they are. As we are in Archipelago, we want the same level of service the person in Inagua, the person in Nassau have the same level of service. So we're trying to make things easier for the court user, more friendly, improve our efficiency rate, and therefore attack our backlog.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Work that started when she was just a teen catapults her to the top post of a leading local airline. Her inspiring story still to come. Plus, Greg is back in the Weather Center watching another potential cold front by Sunday. Your extended forecast coming up when Our News returns.
When the world bid a final farewell to Britain's longest reigning monarch, we were there. A moment of global solemnity that won't soon be forgotten. And when it was time to crown a new king in the first coronation in 50 years, Our News was there to the end. These stories shape our view of the world, a view that goes beyond our borders, because Our News is all around us. This is our story. This is Our News, always there when it counts.
Welcome back to Our News. Quiet conditions continue across the islands, and you can expect another cold front by Sunday. Greg is back with your extended weather forecast. Greg?
Yeah, thanks again, Marlene, and welcome back, everybody, for our final check of weather. We have a frontal boundary that's now across the central Bahamas. Some clouds associated with that still affecting the northwestern parts of the islands. Grand Bahama and the Abacos, you cleared up a little bit, but we expect this front to stall overnight through the central Bahamas, eventually backing up towards the north. So we're looking at some more clouds, as well as the chances for some showers across the northwest Bahamas as that front pulls into that area. And of course, we do expect another front for the weekend. We'll show that in our future forecast. Once again, moisture associated with that boundary just across the capital. We have some moisture still in the Florida Strait. But through Thursday, that front, as I mentioned, will back up towards the north. More showers possible across the northwest Bahamas, maybe even an isolated thunderstorms just to the north of us. And then by Friday, things expected to clear up rather nicely. So we're looking at much improved conditions. But here comes another front in the Gulf of Mexico. That front is expected getting here by Saturday night into Sunday. So chances for some showers will be increased at that time frame. Plan on doing any boating tonight through tomorrow in the Northwest Bahamas. Caution flag in place for you guys. North to northeast winds 10 to 15 knot seas 2 to 4, but they will be up to 6 feet along Atlantic exposures and some easterly swells. High tide is at 6:48 tonight. Your low tide taking place at 12:52 in the morning for the central and southeast Bahamas. Caution flag in place for you guys down there as well. East to southeast winds 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet over the ocean, but up to 6 feet in easterly swells along Atlantic exposures. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In the extended forecast, we'll keep some showers in the forecast through Thursday, but that front is expected to exit the area. Friday and Saturday looks pretty nice, but we do expect another front by Saturday night into Sunday, so we increase the shower chances on Sunday. But once again, conditions improve for early next week. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night, everybody.
Thanks for that, Greg. And finally tonight, in a significant development for the local aviation industry, Western Air, a key player, has just named a new captain. Stepping into the role of president and CEO is a young female leader poised to steer the airline to new heights. Italia Hall caught up with her to discuss her recent ascent to the top.
Rexy Roll is now the president and CEO of Western Air, marking a remarkable journey that began during her teens. In those formative years, Roll played a pivotal role in assisting her parents in the establishment of the company in 2000. And before assuming the post, she served as vice president of operations. In a recent interview, Roll shed light on her expanded responsibilities, which now encompass connecting various departments within the airline and elevating the overall customer experience.
I'm very passionate about aviation, and I'm very passionate about what we do. Everything we do here at Western Air is a team effort, and even though sometimes we can get caught up in the glam and the reward of what something looks like, the reality is that there's 234 employees that all work collectively and that are dedicated to providing these services every day, 365 days a year.
The airline's co-founder, Rex Roll, now proudly holds the title of chairman, passing on the leadership baton to his accomplished daughter.
He has held the position as president and CEO for the past 23 years. I'm grateful to continue to have him, healthy and happy to share that wisdom and guidance when necessary. But he will sit as chairman of the board and still be a part of the overall direction and strategy of the company. But as it pertains to the day-to-day operations, that's where I come in, and it's really a role that I've been playing for quite some time. But it was just time to make that big change in terms of the titles.
Western Air has grown to become one of the largest privately owned carriers in the country, with a workforce of over 100 employees. The new CEO says she is proud of how far the airline has come.
We started with Metro 3s, which are 19-seaters, and from that point we went on to Saab 340s and on now into the Embraer 145 jets. And I just see continuous growth in that same trend.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Italia Hall.
Thanks, Italia, and thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Marlena Leonard. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.